You've completely changed your personality because you switched what type of books you like.
What, you think my personality's changed now?
Yeah, I do.
In what way?
Because you were like a history nerd and now you're like
A fantasy nerd?
guy. No, fantasies aren't nerds. Welcome to Life Unleashed,
The podcast all about creating the best life for you and your furry best friend.
If you're a dog mom on the go, juggling life, work, and the endless joys of being a dog parent, then you're in the right place. I'm Dani.
And I'm Nick.
And together with the incredible dog mom community from Tails Up Pup, we're here to share advice, stories, and the obsession we have over the love for our dogs.
Get ready to laugh, learn, and lean on each other because life with your dog just got even more awesome. Okay, Dani, are you here for a book-related podcast?
Let's see what you got.
I wanted to talk about our philosophy on rating books and like what we both look for and like the books that we go for, because I feel like on both of those subjects we have very different opinions on how to rate books and the types of books that we read.
Honestly, I feel like it is our brains and our way of life. The more I think about it, I'm like, you just think everything is 10 out of 10. Like, you just give everything.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I have things that I dislike.
You have things that you like and you have things you dislike, but you don't really have the in-between.
Yes, I am a hot or cold person.
Yeah.
But I feel like you also are kind of a hot or cold person. I mean, you seem to eat, like you're not in between.
I feel like it takes more to impress me. Like, you have to really like wow me to get that 5-star.
Yeah, but I feel like no, you're maybe more the hot or cold person. I feel like I'm either like I really like the book, and most of them, albeit are like I do like them, or it's like yeah, definitely wasn't for me, like 0 stars. For you, you have a lot of like in between stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I mean no.
Yeah.
No, wait.
I have a lot of in between. You have either you like it or you don't like it, and I'm like, well, maybe.
Yeah, I guess. But why are you that way?
That's just how God made me. I feel like for me, I'm going to give something 5 stars if it's the best. If I really like something, but it's not the same feeling as the best, then it doesn't get 5 stars. It has to give me that same feeling of like, oh, love it.
So you're always chasing the feelings of like the best book you've ever read.
If it wants 5 stars, it's got to be that.
So like every book that you're reading, you're comparing it against like the all-time best on your list.
Yeah, the other 5 stars.
See, for me, I'm not quite as much that way. It's like if I'm entertained by a book and I enjoy their like, they're reading it, then it can get into that 5-star realm. I feel like I'm maybe more in the minority. I feel like most people are probably looking at it more like you.
I don't know. I don't know what
I'm trying not to compare them. As like for an example, there's plenty of books that I've given like more or less a 5-star rating to. I really wish we had like the, on Goodreads, they only give you 4 stars or 5 stars. There's a lot of books that I would rate in like between 4 and 5. But there's like, I don't compare. I have my 5-star list and I don't compare the current read to that list. As an example, like say Mistborn or Way of Kings, both 5-star reads for me, like 10 out of 10. If I compared those to other books, almost all other books I read are not going to be as good as those. And so therefore I could never really give another 5-star. And maybe that is a better philosophy. And it seems like that's the one you have. I don't have that. I'm like looking at the book and saying like, I really enjoyed this. I can give it a 5-star.
Yeah, I feel like people like you, I can't trust their opinions fully because I'm like, you just throw 5 stars around like it's nothing.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe that's because I would if they gave me more options for my stars, I'd have like a lot of mid-4s.
So if it was 10 stars, you feel like you'd be more spread out?
I could be more spread out. Because I feel like to me, like going from 5 to 4 is like seems like a huge jump. And as someone that's writing a book now, I also feel bad like giving an author that I feel like had a very good book a 4-star.
I have never given a 2-star rating. Like what would get 2 stars? Like it's bad but not so horrible?
You mean like you're either 1 star or like 3 and above?
I'm like, okay, if it's average, it gets 3. If it's good but not the best, it's 4. If it's the best, it gets 5. And if it's awful, it gets 1. So like what gets 2? Like nothing I've read has gotten 2. But I can tell you, I am like 40% done the book that I'm reading now. And I can already tell you there's no way it's getting 5 stars. But
how do you know? You don't know how it's going to turn out.
But it doesn't matter. The feeling I have already in the first basically half of the book, I'm like, no, it's just not hitting the same.
So there's nothing that she could do to turn it to a 5-star read for you.
She might can get 4 stars, but not 5.
What book are you reading?
The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. And even if I'm comparing it to her other books, the other ones, like, remember, I couldn't put them down. I was like, this is like page turner. I need to know what's going to happen next. Like, this one, I'm just like, like, it's good. Like, it might get 4 stars, but I don't know.
That brings up an interesting point. When I read a lot from one author, I'm much more willing to compare interbooks. So, like, I've been reading this one series, the Bound and the Broken series, and I was much more willing to give one of his books in the series a 4-star, when probably if I would have read it, like, by itself in a vacuum, I might have given it a 5.
Who's reading in a vacuum?
You know what I mean? Like, if like how I read, kind of like compare other books, if it was just like a one-off, I guess is what I'm saying. But now that I'm comparing it to all the books of the series that I've read, I'm like, you know what? That one's not my favorite. And I also did the same, like with the Stormlight Archive stuff. You know, it was like Wind and Truth was not quite the same. And I'm more willing to, like, if we're in person or it's like not a Goodreads thing, most people that I'm talking to, I'm not saying 5-star. Like, I do go into the like 4.6, 4.5. I get into more details, and that's more trustworthy.
Yes, yeah. You know what's crazy? The first book I read, like, in this era that got me into reading, I still haven't read another one of her books. And Ensley even gave me another one of her books. And I've seen a few of them on Book Talk. And I'm like, wow. I was obsessed with her. And I still haven't read another one of her books.
What was the book that you read?
Swear on This Life. I can't even remember what it was about right now.
Do you remember who the author was?
Yeah, Renee Carlino.
And you loved it. And you...
It's what got me into reading. And now I haven't gone back to her.
Well, you got on the Frida McFadden train.
Yeah, I found out that I like the thriller mystery type vibes. So I've been reading more of those. At first I was a romance girl, and I still like the romance books, but I read one too many where I was like, these are kind of predictable. I needed something more like exciting.
It's funny when you're reading these thrillers because, like, Danielle, if you know her, she's like a big scaredy cat. Like, she'll literally be reading and being like so scared and like can't even go to bed and stuff like that. But like, you still like it and you still want to read.
And I'm not even reading like scary ones.
Yeah, that is, but you cannot watch scary TV shows. You, like, even like before when, you know, we would watch TV, you would never watch the scary movies or anything like that.
I don't like setting myself up for failure, but the books are kind of like, that's what gets me to turn the page and like, want to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I haven't read like a thriller or mystery.
You should.
I feel like I would kind of like that.
You read almost every genre, so you need to like at least say that you've done every genre.
Yeah. Is the big thing about those, like, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat and like you got to find out what's happening next.
Especially Frida, like, has so many twists and turns, like, you will not expect what's going to happen.
You really like the mystery stuff where there's an element of trying to figure it out. Is that what you like?
I think so, yeah.
Like a detective.
But I'm not reading like true mystery books.
Well, what do you mean?
Like what's that guy's name? You know, the famous mystery guy.
Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes. I'm not reading like that.
Yeah, like they're not trying to solve like a case per se.
Yeah.
But in some ways, I guess you're more trying to figure out like what's going to happen between like the characters and the scary stuff going on.
Yeah, I would say I'm more reading thrillers.
Yeah. But thrillers have an element of like trying to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you're not scared. Yeah, I'm definitely here for changing the rating system to out of 10. I think that makes it, there's, you can give 9s.
No, it would be too hard to rate a book.
Well, it seems to me, I think it'd be easier. Because you could give like a 9. To me, a 9-star would be way better, or like a 9 out of 10 would be way better than a 4 out of 5.
Also, if y'all are listening, you probably also know about Goodreads, the app, but Nick found a new app called Fable. Well, I don't know. Is it new? It's new to us.
I don't think it's new.
But there was enough like stats on it that it definitely isn't new. But Fable has like a lot of cool things. I don't know why Goodreads wouldn't implement them. Like, it was telling us like our most read authors and like our average rating and like the number of pages that you've read this year, and like
you can do half stars.
Yeah,
really, you can do like literally any type of star, 4.25.
It had a lot more statistics that I feel like readers would like to know about themselves.
Yeah.
And there's book clubs on there.
Yes, I actually joined a book club on there.
Oh, have you participated?
I have not yet, but I think it just started.
Well, let's see if you can keep up with it. What book is it?
It's the Bound and the Broken series. See, that's the problem, is I already read the series.
Oh, so you're a cheater.
No, I wanted to be involved in the conversations as the people are discovering the stuff.
But there's a lot of other people in your same position.
Like they've read that book before and they want to be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just finished it and it's like fresh on my mind. So I was like, I want to be involved in the conversations because like I can't talk to Dani about the stuff. That's the one thing that I do wish like we had the same interest in books.
You want a husband and wife book club?
That would be fun. Like, because one of the best parts about books is like to talk about it with somebody that actually like is reading it at the same time. You're finding out things together. You can talk about your theories.
No, I like telling you about my book when you don't know about it.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be more fun for us to like if I really did know about it?
No, I like telling you about it.
But you don't know what it would be like if I was also reading it.
How about you read one of my books?
What if we do like a thing where you pick one book that we'll read and I'll pick one book.
No, because I don't want to read Brandon Sanderson.
You literally haven't even given him a chance.
I don't need to right now.
Why? You might like it.
I'm so busy.
You might love it. So what really got you into reading, Dani? Because I feel like you never ever read before, and like I'm trying to think back. Like now you've read probably like 7 or 8 books this year. What got you into reading?
Well, what started it all was that I was at garden club and the girls at the table were all talking about the same book and I couldn't participate in the conversation because I don't read. And then I was like, they were like, we have a copy if you want it. And I was like, I guess like I can't say no to their face. So I had to say yes. And then
you weren't somewhat interested?
No, really, I wasn't. But then I came back and I told you and you're like, oh, you have to read it. You have to read it. And like, I actually didn't take their copy of the book and I had told Nick all this and then he ordered the book. So then the book came and then I was like, well, I'll try it. And then it was like a book that made me keep turning the pages and want to know what's going to happen next. And then I was like, oh, I actually do like this book. And then I got into it. So it's to say that you can try new things when you're 30 years old and you might like it.
Yeah, literally, I don't think you've ever read a book in our marriage together.
Until now.
Not a full book.
Mm-mm.
And so now you're getting into the romance, the thrillers.
And for sure, I'm a Kindle girly. I feel like I can just read more easily on a Kindle. Like, I just like the way that it looks, the way that it feels. I don't like a big book in my hand. Some people love a big book in their hand. Not me. Love the Kindle.
You don't even like a little book in your hand.
Yeah, I just like the feeling of the Kindle. It's nice. Did you know that people have like stands and clickers and they could be all cozied up under the blankets and turn their pages?
Yeah, I've seen that. I feel like that would be something you would like.
Yeah, I think that will be in my future.
I am totally the opposite. I really do like having like the hard copy of the book and something about like the pages and things like that. However, I'm doing like a ARC reading thing, advanced reader copy of a book, and it was only on Kindle. And it's crazy how much faster I can read on a Kindle. I don't know if that's a common experience.
I think it is.
But there's something about like maybe how it's set up and I just scanning the page. Like it just goes, I read faster. There's no other way to say it.
Another hot take is that some people don't count audiobooks as reading books. And I feel like that's kind of where when you have been sharing like how many books you read this month, people are like, how are you doing that? And it is also audiobooks.
Yes, I read physical books and I listen to them. And so my stats are a combination of the two.
I am on Nick's team. I think that if you listen to the book, you're still consuming the book. So I think it should count.
Yeah, I think I saw someone say like, as far as reading goes, it's like you're reading it with your eyeballs or you're reading it with your ears. Like you're, like you said, consuming the same content and you're getting all the same stuff.
I'm really not into listening to books. Even like, I feel like for me, I am very good at multitasking, but add in audio into my head. Like I feel like the reason I can get so much done in my day is because my brain is like thinking, what am I going to do next? Or like, what am I doing right now? And so my brain is like moving so much that adding in audio completely throws me off.
Yeah, I can only listen to do some tasks, like when I'm pulling the list and things like that require more focus. I can't do it. I can't listen, or like I'll space out and miss something, and I hate that. So it definitely not all the tasks. Like if I'm cutting or sewing, those two things are the best to like more like the mindless tasks.
I know what else got me into reading, the library, because I am not going to pay for things like, especially books. I'm just like, you read it one time, I know I'm not going to read it again. Like that's a waste of money to me. So I am into renting for free.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, yeah, we definitely have everything about books for us is like the opposite. Like I love books. I love buying books. Like, I almost think about them as like, in a way, like a collector's item. Like, I like, obviously, all the books behind me, like building a library and being able to go in and, you know, reread stuff. And I am a big rereader. I think last year, maybe like, I probably reread like 10 or 12 books.
No.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy. And kind of like, I have that same... This is like the theme of me. I like to redo things, right?
Yeah.
Like over and over again, whether it's TV shows or books. There is something cool to me. Like when you do a reread, I get so much more out of the second read because I kind of know everything is going to happen, but you get the small details.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It's like watching a movie. Like the second time you watch it, you see things you didn't see the first time.
I haven't reread any fantasy books recently. The only fantasy stuff I've reread before was Harry Potter. I would really be interested to reread some of the fantasy books that I've read this year, but I just read them relatively recently, so it's too soon. You need to have a certain amount of time pass, and I have a lot of books that I want to read.
Yeah, how many books do you think you have in your possession that you haven't read?
That I haven't read? I was thinking probably when we did the count, it's pretty close to a 50-50 of like books that I've read.
I think there's 500 books in here you haven't read.
Yeah.
Okay, no more buying books. You're doing the...
Well, that includes all of Callan's books. You know, we had like over 250 of Callan's books.
No.
Yeah, we were in like the...
No, it was 50.
No, we were in the 900s, and we got to like 1,100. At least 150 books of his.
Callan has 150 books?
Maybe more.
I feel like you are probably... It was 150 because you were trying to get 50 more, and then we got to 1,100.
Right, and you know, a lot of the things that are kind of like the art books, and like I don't count those of like I've read that. You don't read every single page in that book.
Okay, but you still have probably a lot of books you haven't read.
There are a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But we view books totally
I saw
differently.
this trend and I sent it to Nick where you put all the titles of the books that you haven't read in a jar. What was it called? Like reading my TBR that I already own. And then he would have to pull out of a jar and like that's what he's going to read next. And he would hate that, but you should do it.
Yeah, that would be fun. I mean, right now I'm you know, going through a lot of the books that I have. Yeah. Well, I'm also, what do they call them? Like a mood reader.
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone that like whatever strikes me at that time, and sometimes it's a new book, sometimes it's old stuff, sometimes it's a reread.
Nick gets so irritated with me in my library books because I'm like, oh, this one's coming next. I have to read this one or like wait for this one. And he's like, just pick the one you want to read.
Yeah. The reason that like for me, the way that I choose to read stuff, I read what I'm really excited to read at that moment. And sometimes this really gets to me like with like history stuff. Like, so say, you know, I'm listening to something about World War II and then I'm like, I was planning to read something totally separate after that. But like after reading the World War II book, I'm like, I got really interested in the Holocaust. So then I want to read about like the history of the Holocaust. And then, you know, maybe that like gets me interested in psychology. And then I'm like, I got to go read this psychology book, you know? So I'm like, you know, and a lot of times, yes, I have other history books sitting on my shelf that, you know, are World War I or it could Civil War history, could be anything. But right then I'm not that interested in that, you know? Or I read a Civil War book and I'm like, oh man, I really want to read the biography on Grant now. You know, it just, that's the way that my mind works. And particularly something like reading that requires like a lot of mental effort, I think you need to be excited about it. And if you're not excited about it, that's the problem with Dani in the library books. If she's not excited to read the book and she's only reading it because now it's come up in her library queue, then it's like that ends up half the time I come upstairs and she's scrolling on her phone and not reading because it's like you're forcing yourself to read something that you're not even interested in when there is a book that you are interested in, but she won't get it.
That does be happening sometimes.
That never happens to me because I'm always excited about what I'm reading. What is your feeling on like not finishing a book?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think like I very rarely don't finish a book. I almost always push through.
Yeah, I will try to push through. I wish that on Goodreads there was like a section for that because then I'd feel like I'd be more likely to like not finish it.
I think Fable has that.
Yeah, Fable did have it. So that's pretty cool.
You need your stats.
Yeah, I need my stats. Like if I start it and then don't finish it, like am I just going to say that I did finish it on Goodreads or am I going to say I never read it on Goodreads?
I think we definitely have the different reasoning behind that. I wish that I would do more not finishing of books. Like if I'm not interested in it, I shouldn't waste the time and continue. The reason that I continue is I have faith that it might get better.
I feel like my ratio shows though that like if I don't like it, I will give up. I've not finished 2 books now. And I think that yes, you have to give it a chance, but if you're like 30% done. I feel like by that point, if it's not good, like that's the author's fault.
Yeah. What do you think about rating a book you don't finish? Do you think it's fair to rate
I
one?
did that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, like, what am I supposed to do on Goodreads? You either rate it and say you're done with it, or you say you didn't read it. So I did read it. I read part of it.
I think if it's like writing style or certain things like that about why you're rating it badly, you can rate it if you didn't finish it. But if it's like plot related and things like that, and you didn't get to the end and didn't like watch the whole thing,
I don't know. It's at the end of the day, you get to rate the book how you want to rate it, and you can't feel bad to the author. Like, they're not going to satisfy everyone.
Yeah, I do think though that like in like a more detailed review, like you got to tell people you didn't finish it. Like, it's not fair to be like, I give it 1 star and and like act like you read the whole thing.
I never write a review. I just give the stars.
I got really upset one time when someone was talking about Game of Thrones and they were like, I hated it. It was like the worst show, whatever. And I like, how much did you watch of it? And they're like, I watched like half an episode. I'm like, you didn't watch the whole thing. Like, what are you talking? Like, just the first episode and you hate it? Like, that's fair that you don't want, but don't like, it's really hard to knock a whole show that you haven't seen the whole thing of. And I feel like it's the same thing with books. How do you knock a book that you haven't seen the whole thing of?
Are there people who make a living off of writing reviews on Goodreads, like Yelp? You know how like people can be professional Yelpers?
No, I don't know about that. I know that people do it, but I didn't know you can make a living doing it.
Well, I don't know. Making a living, I guess, is no.
You mean just people that write a lot of reviews?
No. But like, remember Venny got to go to all these like exclusive events, like, and she didn't get paid, I don't think, to go to them, but I think her friend got paid to like go to some stuff.
I have no idea.
Like, if you write enough Yelp reviews, then like you can be a Yelper. I don't know if that's what it's called, but like they're going to invite you to these events. They want to get you more people writing reviews. Like, restaurants probably will invite you to come write a review if like you're known to be a good Yelper. I wonder if that's like book.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Whatever, Goodreads.
I don't know if it works that way, but like obviously that I'm getting into like the Instagram book talk type community. Like, they definitely really will send you books if you like make videos about books and like rate them and that type
Nick's
of stuff.
got books sent to him. You have never been paid to post about them, but they'll send you the books in hope that you'll post about it and write a review.
I think one time a company did pay me. I think I did get paid $50 one time.
Wow.
Like back early on. I had a different book account like 5 or 6 years ago when I did it, and like I was able to grow that, and I think it was pretty early on in that. Mm-hmm. It is very interesting to me like to see how my book taste of like genre and everything has like evolved and changed over time.
I think that's the craziest thing from my perspective, because even a year ago you read books that were so different and you've completely changed.
I was all nonfiction, and
I feel like that's your personality. You've completely changed your personality because you switched what type of books you like.
What, you think my personality's changed now?
Yeah, I do.
In what way?
Because you were like a history nerd and now you're like
a fantasy nerd
guy. No, fantasies aren't nerds.
Okay.
That's like fantasy.
It definitely has a lot to do with, and I think the more that I've gone down this rabbit hole, like now that I'm writing a fantasy book, I really am even more into like reading like the fantasy stuff. And it's interesting to see as I've like gotten further along in the book writing process, I'm trying to read books that more like have the style that I'm going for and the type of world that I'm doing to like help get ideas and things like that, which has been fun. It's definitely a different experience, kind of like with YouTube. Like, when you didn't make YouTube videos, it probably was different to watch somebody. But now that you make videos and we do that stuff, don't you view YouTube videos very differently? Mm-hmm. Or like podcasts, listening to a podcast before you've filmed a podcast, it's very different now that you make one.
I have a question of the day, but I know that if you're listening, you can't like answer it. But I am wondering, like, what do people use for bookmarks? Do you just use the receipt that you got to buy the book, or do you like use something laying around, or do you have an actual bookmark that you like reuse?
Right now I use like a sticker that was sent to me with one of the books I bought.
Do you move that from book to book?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's interesting. See,
you don't need bookmarks with a Kindle though.
You do not need bookmarks with a Kindle, but usually I just use the receipt from the book. But I've been thinking about like embroidering bookmarks, and I don't know if like there's a market for that or not. I
feel like yes, in the sense that like I really like the sticker that I have, and it's like kind of cool. Like you bring it from book to book, and like I don't know, you have like form like an attachment to it. I feel like
you have an attachment to a sticker.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying like I do with my sticker, but like you could with the bookmark. Like the more books that you like bring it to, like I feel like that, okay, to me, and I'm definitely more sentimental than Dani about books. Like when I spend, minimum 6 to 10 hours probably with the book, a lot of the books that are bigger, a lot more. It's like I have a hard time like wanting to get rid of that thing. Like I feel like I put time into the book, and like now it's like you live on my shelf. You're part of the family. That's how I feel like I treat books.
Yeah. What are you going to do when you run out of space for books?
Get more space. No, I was actually thinking about it. There is a fair amount of books, and this goes to the point of like the percentage of stuff I've read. I've been gifted a lot of books over time, and there's probably 50 books in this house, maybe 100 that like I maybe not will ever read.
Really?
I don't know. I'd like to
they
go
could
through.
Find new homes?
I would like to go through and like purge at some point.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mark his words, people.
Yeah. And, maybe when I go to actually do it, I'll be like, I can't do it. I just can't get rid of you.
I know. You're a hoarder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. For books.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed book talks. Book talks. Not talks. Like book talk and book talks.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things that like it's really fun now that you're reading. I want to like
this has been Nick's life mission to get me to read.
It has, and the thing that's really sad about that is I wasn't the one to get you to read.
But I just don't be down on yourself. Like you were just into different things, and I would have never been interested in reading a history book. So
one time we are going to pick a book that you're gonna read, and like you'll pick, and I'll read it, and then you'll read one of mine.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, and we'll try to pick something that like I would think that you would like, and that you'll think something that I would like.
Yeah, I'm still new to my reading journey that I don't want to like read something I'm not interested in. So like, let me get a little more seasoned, and then maybe I'll be adventurous.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like the more you read, the more you're willing to like try something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.